Have you ever really thought about what's going on beneath the surface, beyond the headlines for a country as huge and, well, vibrant as Nigeria?
Absolutely. It's easy to see the big picture, but when you zoom in, each state, each community, it has its own unique story, doesn't it?
It really does. There's this incredible tapestry of cultures and histories, natural wonders, too, that often gets overlooked.
A really rich landscape of human experience.
So, welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're taking a journey into three specific Nigerian states: Bayelsa, Kogi, and Nasarawa.
Yeah, this isn't just about geography, is it? We're trying to get into their essence.
Exactly, to help you get a quick but, pretty thorough handle on what makes them unique.
Our mission really is to pull out the most interesting bits, the key insights from the notes you've provided. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe.
Yeah, a shortcut to getting well informed about these fascinating places without reading stacks of documents yourself.
And we've got some great stuff here. Culture, history, traditions, food, landmarks,
Yeah.
the works.
Okay, let's connect those dots then. Where should we start? Bayelsa.
Bielsa sounds good. The glory of all lands.
That's quite a nickname. Now, the notes really emphasize the Ija people, or Izon, as being central there. Groups like the Nembe, Ogbia.
Right, they're dominant. But you also have minorities like the Isoko and Urhobo adding to the mix.
And what really jumps out is this phrase: dive dwelling, creek life defines their worldview. That sounds profound.
It really is. It's not just where they live, it's how they see everything. It shapes their culture, their history, their struggles, even, what they eat. It's fundamental.
Okay, so let's talk history then. Obviously, that connection to water must play a big role. It was founded October 1st, 1996.
Relatively recent as a state, yeah. But its significance goes way back. Crucially, this is where Nigeria's oil story began.
Right. Aloibiri, 1956, the first oil discovery. That must have changed everything.
Absolutely everything. It launched Nigeria's oil era, brought wealth, but also a really complex history of conflict and resistance.
Like Isaac Adaka Boro. The notes mention his declaration of the Niger Delta People's Republic in '66.
Exactly. A bold move, though short-lived. It speaks to that long struggle for self-determination. And we can't ignore the difficult parts, like the Odi massacre in '99.
That sounds like it left deep scars.
It did. It really highlights the region's fight over resources, but also its resilience, They've endured a lot.
And through all that, the culture stays strong. The Nembe Festival, for example. Sounds like a big deal.
Oh, it is. A fantastic display of Ija dance, music, those amazing canoe regattas, real cultural pride tied to that river identity.
It's not just Nembe, though, is it? This river regatta culture seems broader.
Yeah, it's a Niger Delta thing. Decorated boat parades, especially during high water season. It's spectacular and really shows that shared aquatic life.
And the music. Eyes, rhythms, and masks.
Rich stuff, lots of drumming, praise poems, traditional flute chants you hear at ceremonies.
It's interesting how the notes say even modern bands are mixing in those traditional elements.
Yeah, they keep it alive. Those Ayaja praise chants, the river rhythms, that kind of spiritual feel, it finds its way into contemporary music, too.
Makes sense. And with all that water, the cuisine must be seafood heavy.
Definitely. River frank is central. Plus cassava, plantains, palm oil, things they farm and fish right there. Festivals often feature grilled fish, different kinds of soups, local delicacies.
And the clothing, wrappers, scarves, anything particularly unique?
Well, besides the traditional colorful attire, the Brass Island folk have this interesting Edwardian influence sometimes.
Edwardian, like early 20th century British style?
Yeah, a hangover from colonial history. High collars, structured shapes, it's a curious blend. And then for festivals, you get the really vivid regalia and masks.
Fascinating. Okay, what about the landscape itself? Swamp forest.
Exactly, riverine, coastal ecology, crisscrossed by waterways like the Nun and Forcados rivers. Lots of mangroves, estuaries.
And there's an important conservation aspect too, right? The Ediminum Forest Reserve.
Yes, critically important. It's a refuge for some of Nigeria's last chimpanzees, red colobus monkeys, Sclater's guinan, rare reptiles too. A real biodiversity hotspot.
Wow, so how many people live in Bayelsa?
The estimate for 2024 is around 3.7 million, mostly in the 8 local government areas like Yanagoa, the capital, Ogbia, Nembe.
And some notable figures come from there. Good luck, Jonathan, obviously.
Nigeria's 14th president, yeah. And Isaac Adaka Boro, the activist we mentioned.
Plus artists like Timi Dokolo, Dekor Egbuson, novelist Gabriel Okara, coach Samson Siaja.
A good list. Yenagoa, the capital, is known for its universities, but unfortunately also for flooding. given its location.
And Brass Island, Twan Brass, sounds historic.
Very. Old port town, colonial lighthouses, slave tunnels apparently, and something called the Silver Currency Road. Lots of history layered there.
Including that Akasa Lighthouse, 60 meters tall, built in 1910.
Yeah, quite a landmark. And you have other sites keeping history alive, the Isaac Boro Memorial, Oloibiri Oil Museum, a mangrove museum, the Akasa Slave Transit Camp.
So, linguistically, still diverse despite the Ijaw dominance.
Oh yes, Ijaw dialects like Izon are major, but you also hear Epi, Atissa, Ogbia, Njeni, Ngembe, Usoko, or Hobo, plus English, of course.
And the state motto wraps it up: truth, service, and justice.
A powerful statement.
Okay, let's move inland now to Kogi State, the confluent state.
Right, and that name tells you a lot. It's famous for that meeting point of the rivers, but also for its people. The notes call it a true ethnic mosaic.
That sounds about right. Igala, Ebira, Okun, Yoruba, Nupe, Igbo, Gabaji. Quite a mix.
It really is a melting pot. And that confluence identity, both the rivers and the people coming together, is central to Kogi.
And its creation reflects that mix, too. August 27, 1991, formed from bits of Kwara, Benue, and Enugu states.
And the capital, Lokoja, is right there at that unique spot where the Niger and Benue rivers meet.
Which is overlooked by Mount Patty, where Flora Shaw supposedly coined the name Nigeria.
That's the story. Back in 1897, imagine standing there, seeing that view, and coming up with the name for a nation. Pretty incredible piece of history.
Definitely. And Lokoja seems full of historical markers. Lord Lugard's residence.
Yep, plus the Iron of Liberty, the World War I cenotaph. Lots of colonial and military history right there.
What about traditions? The notes mention Princess Inekbi for the Igala people?
Ah, yes, the Inki Martyr Memorial. A legendary figure said to have sacrificed herself in the 16th century. A powerful story of selflessness.
And the Ibira have the Ekian masquerade.
Right, that and other festivals celebrating unity, harvest, and in Okin, among the Ogori people, there's the Ovio Sisi Festival.
What's that one about?
It's a really important coming-of-age rite for young women. Lots of dance, cultural displays, communal rites, very significant locally.
And the music reflects this diversity, too. Igala chants, Ibira drumming.
Nupe melodies, too, often with masked performances bringing stories and traditions to life.
Using instruments like the Oja flute, drums, xylophones.
Talking drums, too, yeah. They're crucial for festivals, ceremonies, storytelling. It's the heartbeat of their traditions.
Given its location and agriculture, the food must be different from Bayelsa's.
Very much so. It's driven by agriculture, yam, cassava, maize, millet, rice, cash crops like cocoa, groundnut.
And fish from the rivers, too, I assume?
Of course, the rivers provide plenty, so you get local soups, fish dishes, and Lokoja and Okin have vibrant street food scenes.
Clothing-wise, more variety because of the ethnic mix.
Definitely. Agada and wrappers for Igalabira, Ankara for the Okun Yoruba. But festival time is when you see the really elaborate stuff like those Ovia Osi masks.
Geographically, it's in the Guinea Forest Savannah Zone.
That's right, bisected by the Niger and Benue. You've got scenic spots like Mount Patty, Obangogo Hills. The vegetation ranges from hills to fertile riverbanks. Lots of bird life, river fauna.
Population around 4.5 million.
That was the 2022 estimate, yeah. And people really connect to figures like Princess Inekpi. That legacy continues through current leaders.
So key places to see. Lokoja is clearly number one.
Absolutely. The confluence itself, Mount Patty, Lugard's residence, the cenotaph, National Museum, the Confluence Bridge. Lots to take in.
And Ida, the Igala heartland.
Yes, with the statue of Princess Inekpi, a powerful symbol. Okin is another key cultural center, with its historic palace and festivals.
And Obangogo Hill, you mentioned that.
A culturally significant refuge hill. It's actually got a UNESCO nomination pending, which highlights its importance.
Wow. Linguistically, it must be complex.
Very. Igala, Ibira, Okun, Nupe dialects, Igbo, Gabagi. English is the official language that bridges them.
But that confluent state identity really sums it up.
It does. The meeting of rivers, the meeting of peoples. You hear it in their proverbs, their greetings, their festival chants.
All right, third state, Nasarawa, nicknamed the home of solid minerals.
That tells you a lot straight away, doesn't it?
It does, but it's also another ethnic mosaic, maybe even more complex. Over 25 groups mentioned.
Yeah, it's incredibly diverse. Egan, Algo, Eloi, Mata, Gwandara, Tiv, House of Fulani. Each with their own language, customs, worldview.
And alongside the mineral wealth, the notes highlight religious harmony.
That's a really important aspect. Islam, Christianity, traditional beliefs coexisting relatively peacefully.
Historically, it was part of the Sokoto Caliphate after the Fulani Jihad.
Right, in the early 1800s. Then it became part of colonial northern Nigeria, later Plateau State, and finally Nasarawa State on October 1st, 1996, same day as Bayelsa.
And Lafia, the capital, has roots going back to that Sokoto period.
It does. Now,
Okay.
tradition-wise, the Odu festival in Doma sounds ancient.
Celebrated by the Alago people, honoring ancestors and community bonds since the 13th century.
Imagine that continuity. And then there's the Nizza Mata festival for the Mata people. Nizza meaning beauty or pride.
Sounds like a vibrant cultural showcase.
Exactly. And you've got other festivals too, from the Egon, Akiri, Kokona, Wamba, lots of dance and masquerades.
The music sounds unique too. Egon flute tones, Alago chants, Aloi weaving songs described as bagpipe-like.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Often praising ancestors. And festival drumming, praise recitals celebrating harvests and community values are key.
Food must be centered on savanna crops then. Yam, millet, sorghum.
Staples, yeah. And Ungwa-style soups. Those sound like hearty local stews, maybe with bushmeat. Plus seasonal fruits. Shared meals at festivals like Odu and Nidze are central, symbolizing unity.
Clothing styles must also vary widely.
Absolutely. Alago patterned wrappers and beads, Egon regalia, Eloi woven textiles, and again, festivals bring out the really elaborate costumes and masks.
What about the landscape? Tropical savanna?
Mostly, yeah, wooded savanna, forest savanna mosaic, but the landmarks are really striking.
Like Furinruwa Falls, one of Africa's tallest.
Incredible sight, apparently. And the Egon Hills, or Akwanga Hills, they hold deep ancestral meaning.
And Era Rock, a 120-meter monolith used for annual worship.
Yeah, near Nasarawa town. Plus you have springs like Akiri Warm Springs, caves, other rocky outcrops like Maloney Hill. Wildlife includes typical savanna animals, antelope, monkeys, birds, plus riverine species near the water sources.
Population around 2.9 million in 2022.
Roughly, yes. And like elsewhere, many communities trace their heritage back to historic kingdoms, connecting past and present leaders like Governor Abdullah Sule.
Key cities, Lafia, the capital, and this Karu corridor.
Yeah, that's an interesting urban sprawl connecting towards Abuja's suburbs. Shows its strategic position. Akwanga is important for the Egon Hills.
And Kiana salt village mining salt since the 12th century. That's amazing history right there.
Isn't it? Centuries of using that resource. Other key natural sites are Furinruwa, Arrow Rock, Akiri Warm Springs, Doma Dam, Mata Hills, Maloney Hill. Lots to explore.
Linguistically, it just sounds incredibly diverse.
It really is. Egon, Mata, Alago, Eloi are major ones, but many others too. Plus Hausa, Fulfulde, and English tying things together.
But that home of solid minerals tag really sticks.
It does. It defines its economy and identity. You might hear local greetings like the Matadze, Beauty Pride, or Odu festival chants, reminding you of that deep culture.
Okay, so bringing it all together, 3 very different states, but maybe some common threads.
Definitely distinct identities. Bayelsa, deeply shaped by its oil and riverine life, its struggles and triumphs. Kogi, the historical confluence, a true meeting point of rivers and diverse peoples. Nasarawa, defined by its mineral wealth, and then an incredible mosaic of ethnic groups tied to the savannah.
Yet, underneath it all,
You see that shared Nigerian heritage, right? Resilience is a huge one. Deep cultural roots. The power of music, festivals, cultural pride, holding communities together despite all the differences in landscape and history.
they're all unique expressions of Nigeria's spirit.
Absolutely. So hopefully you've just gotten a much richer sense of Bayelsa, Kogi, and Nasarawa through this deep dive. We've tried to unpack some key insights from ancient ways to modern life.
Yeah, giving you a solid footing, hopefully, to understand these vital parts of Nigeria better.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
Think about how profoundly geography and resources, oil, rivers, minerals, don't just shape an economy, but mold cultural identity, history, even the resilience of the people.
That's a great point. How the land itself writes the story. You see it so clearly in these 3 states. Where else in the world is that connection between land and tradition so defining? Something to definitely mull over.